Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Hey everyone, B1B Flyer here. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to do caution stripes. I'm going to use the following colors. From Viejo I've got Sky Gray, Base Gray, Black, and Desert Yellow. And from Citadel I've got Flash Kits Yellow. Any brown with some yellow in it would work fine. Any medium gray will also work fine. Any light gray would also work fine. For my brush I'll be using a slowfusegaming.com 0 long wick. It's a Kalinsky sable brush. Alright, so the two demonstrations I'm going to do today are the missile ports on these Shadowhawk and Dragon. So there's a couple different ways to tackle that process. You can do your own stripes. I'm going to do yellow, black and yellow basic stripes. And the way the Shadowhawk missile port goes, I think I'm just going to follow the angle that it has on the missile port, so I don't have to really think about what angle you want to make those diagonal lines go. But for the Dragon, since it's got more of a rectangular one, I think I'm just going to go from one edge to the other just to kind of establish that angle so that I can take it out to each side. So I've got a little bit of the Desert Yellow on my palette paper here. And I'm going to start with the brown, because it's easier to cover up than it is to put this over the black. Now you can, if you want to establish your lines, if you're not sure which direction you want things to go, you can use a mechanical pencil if you're using a light colored base coat on your miniature. And even the graphite will still show up on a darkly colored miniature as well, so it's always an available option for you. But right now I'm just taking my detail brush here and trying to kind of give a guideline to where I want my stripes to be. Just using the very tip of my brush. I'm resting the base on the table, my hand on the base, and then my hand on the rest of my hand to give me a nice stable platform. If you need to lay it down or find another way to support it, I recommend you do that, especially when you're trying to do straight lines. Again, this is just a basic establishment of the angles I want to use, and then touch up obviously can happen once we start putting the black down. Alright, it's kind of hard to make out with the light kind of washing it out, but that's a good base for the yellow. We'll move on to the Dragon. Now since the square here or rectangle doesn't really have much of a angle for me to go off of, I'm just going to draw one corner to the next corner. I'm going right over those missile tips. I don't really care about those just yet, just so I don't break up my angle, my brush stroke. If you're just starting out, I recommend you try to do some stripes maybe on a flatter area, or you can even practice on a edge of a hex base, or any just practice model would work too. So then once you get your line established, now I'm just trying to repeat that. I'm using very, very little brush pressure. I'm letting the paint, I wouldn't say fall onto the miniature, but definitely don't want to try to force it. The harder you push on the brush, the more the bristles will expand, and then I'll widen your line, and if you don't want a wide line, then you don't want to push too hard. The line's finished. Now I'm going to go and redefine with the black and set my line width. Got my black fairly thin. but not so thin that it's going to run all over the place. There you can see we got the solid makings of the stripe pattern. I'll do the same thing on this dragon. Alright, so full disclosure, off camera I went back and reestablished some of that brown and then touched up anything I wanted to kind of even out. It's a bit of a back and forth. I never get it right the first time, but you can see now I've kind of got some sharper lines. I've also got my medium gray and the flash gets yellow on my palette, and I'm going to start reinforcing some of these lines and getting a little bit more of actual yellow caution stripe detail. And with this, I'm just aiming for the middle of the line. I'm not really trying to bring it out to the edge. I want there to be a little bit of color variation. It's okay if there isn't. It's not, you don't have to have a established line there or anything, but I like the idea that there's a little bit of a gradient. See, it's starting to really look like a black and yellow caution stripe. Now I'm going to bring some of that base gray in, and now it's going to be a bit of a highlight to the black to kind of establish that it's not just one monotone color. Given all the other highlighting I have on this miniature, it would look kind of out of place if I didn't do some sort of gradient effect. But certainly if you were happy with the solid black lines, go with those. This is just a demonstration of enhancing what you've already done. With the gray, I'm aiming just for one high edge there, just to give it a little bit of a sense of light reflection, touching the edges as well. Do it again with the Shadowhawk. Yellow. So the reason we use that brown instead of starting out with yellow is that yellow loves to show through. So if we go with a nice yellowish brown underneath it, you're going to get a good vibrant yellow. If you're doing different colors for your caution stripes, maybe using red or blue or something on that line, use something that's going to help bring that color out underneath. And always put your lighter color down first, because black is easily going to cover most other paints. So the method still remains the same, just different colors will work just fine. It's starting to show up nice and vibrant. And grab some of that gray, base gray. Aim for these top edges here. Now again, if you wanted to call these good, these look just fine. I want to highlight the yellow a little more and bring it out and make it match the overall shades and tones of the rest of the miniature. So I'm going to actually highlight the yellow with a brighter yellow. What I've done is grabbed model color ice yellow and I've mixed it a little bit with some of my flash kits so that it's sharing the same yellow tone. And now I'm just going to go and do what I was doing with the gray over the black and just touch the high sides where I want there to be a little bit more of a light. I'm not even going all the way to the right, I just want to have this one side be a little bit brighter, just to show a little more variation and artificial sense of depth. Doesn't take much. Definitely hitting the high edges here. And then bringing it down slightly to the lower portion. And if it gets too bright or you don't like it, you can always go back and put that regular Flash Kits yellow back, or whatever yellow you're using. Alright, so now I've thinned down some sky gray, the lightest gray I'm going to use, and I'm going to do some edge highlighting and just a touch on the black to bring it out. And you can actually bring some of this onto the yellow if you want, if you're not into doing too much of the yellow fades or any of that. You can even run this gray all the way along the edge here, and it'll merge nicely with the yellow and the black. It's not going to look out of place if you have the edge highlight on there and it's not yellow in one spot, gray in another. It'll still draw the eye into it and bring a nice highlight effect. Just using the 45-degree angle here with the brush. It may take a couple runs because I'm using a very thinned gray, so it's gonna mute out as it dries, but that's okay. It's better to do it twice than to have too much paint on there the first time. And then you can, if you want to have your missile ports be black, you can put black in there, and then you could just hit the edges of the missile ports and repeat and do the same thing on this one. Of course, it's a little more complicated if you still got painting to do on the actual missiles. You do have to be careful in that regard. Like I said, if you're starting out, I probably would recommend you not start with a missile ports, but maybe work on the back of a leg or the side of an arm or something like that would you want a caution stripe to be on. Get a little practice in. And there we have it. We'll get a close-up shot here. Thanks for watching. Follow us on YouTube, over at Facebook at Camo Specs Online. Like us, ask any questions you want in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.
Shutdown sequence initiated.